sir.
Appreciate it. I appreciate everybody coming out today for our media day, and we've been practicing since October 1st, and we've got a lot to learn, but I've seen a lot of growth in our team over the last 2.5, 3 weeks, and a lot more to come. But attitude's been great. I think our guys are improving, and their willingness to improve has been really impressive. So, recognize we have one of the toughest schedules in the entire country. So it's our resiliency will be tested, our ability will be tested, and that's a good thing. I think history shows that teams that put themselves in conversations for NCAA tournament bids, the selection committee has rewarded teams that go out and challenge themselves. And they don't penalize teams when you go out and play somebody. So that's exactly what Kenny did for us coming into this year. So any questions? That's it. Thank you.
Coach, are you surprised? I know you can't talk about specific players, but the success you've had in selling this program, getting guys to commit to the future here as quickly as it's happening for you?
Pleased, not surprised. Part of what our coaching staff tells recruits is we made that jump too. We put our money where our mouth was. We invested and we jumped in this program, 2 feet in, and we want anybody that we recruit to want to be a Cardinal. And not everyone wants to, for a variety of reasons. But the kids that we've been recruiting in every single class, including the grad transfers that are on our team, felt good about becoming a Louisville Cardinal. So I wouldn't say surprised, excited and pleased, and really feel like for our assistant coaches who've worked incredibly long hours and built so many lasting relationships that they've been rewarded and we've been rewarded.
As far as the leadership styles that VJ and Kristen have exhibited, can you take us through how they are similar, how they are different?
Well, I think those guys are respected by their teammates. They're everyday guys. And what I mean by that is they show up every day with the same type of attitude. There's no highs and lows. They may not play well on a particular day or a particular drill, but it doesn't affect their mentality. It doesn't affect how they take the floor, what type of teammate they are. And I think anytime you're being led or you have guys on your team, you want to look to guys that are stable, that are going to be the same person every single day they step on the floor. And I think VJ and CeCe, they earned that right. Players voted on it. It had nothing to do with the coaches because they saw their work up close and personal all year. And that doesn't mean that they're the only voices. Doesn't mean they're the only leaders by any stretch of the imagination. I think they'd be the first to tell you that. But I think that's why they became captains, because their peers felt that way about them.
What do you get from CeCe on the floor, and how is his translation from where he was to here been?
Well, it's a jump up. The ability level, the size, both on the guys that are guarding him and the guys that he sees in the lane are bigger. But I think CeCe plays the game for his teammates. He tries to create shots. He understands when Jordan has hit 2 threes in a row. He's looking for him, and it's just sort of the it's just the way of a true point guard, a guy that's getting everybody involved and has a real feel for the climate of the game and what's happening. Who's down. He has a way to keep guys up, keep guys confident, find guys that are confident. And again, it's a challenge for him because this level is extremely difficult. Athletic, more athletic than he's used to, longer than he's used to, but he's out there trying to make the right play on both ends of the floor every time we step onto the practice court.
Does he have the highest basketball IQ on your team, and who else would join him in that kind of category?
I don't know about that. I think Dwayne Sutton has a really good IQ for the game. I think there are a lot of guys on our team that have a good feel. I think probably say that because he's in the lead guard position, he's in the point guard position, but he does have a great feel for the game. But I wouldn't say that he sticks out extraordinarily with the other guys on the team.
What's been the biggest challenge trying to get all of these guys to not just play together, but really just try to know each other?
Well, I think that happens away from here. Getting to know each other, that's just, you spend time. It's relationships that you build over time, and they've all been very good with their time. I don't feel like this team has cliques. You know, two guys aren't walking onto the practice court the same two every day. I've been around teams like that. But you know, I think our team, the togetherness, just the biggest challenge is daily habits. You know, making sure that every day they come to the practice court like they're ready to go. And some of our freshmen that are now sophomores, they struggle at times with consistency in their habits, but we're getting better. I think that's been the thing that we're looking to as a coaching staff, is to make sure they're the same guy every single day.
What's your offensive philosophy with 4 out, one true post? How does that fit this team?
Well, we lost a lot of size off last year's team. You know, you had Honest, you had Ray, even Dang was, you know, a bigger guy that if I were coaching him this year, I'd play him at the 4. You know, I just think it makes you a lot more difficult to guard when you're on the offensive end. And on the defensive end, it'll present some challenges at times, but you know, we're going to have to keep the ball in front of us a lot more than maybe teams of the past, because we don't have the erasers behind us, behind the perimeter players that maybe, you know, past Louisville teams had. You don't have Ray back there blocking shots, and Honest back there blocking shots. If you want to put Steven and Malik in foul trouble, just keep getting beat off the dribble. So we have to be able to keep the ball in front of us, and that's probably more important for this year's team than maybe years of the past. But I think it's more challenging to guard when you have a guy that plays like a perimeter player, like a guard at the 4, because not every team plays that way. And some teams are going to have that 6'9", 6'10" kid that maybe played center in high school that's playing a power forward. And unless they're zoning, he's going to have to be out on the floor at times. It gives the 5-man for us more room to operate as well. You know, if Steven is having his way, you know, at times with guys in the post, there's not a fellow post player 4 feet from him. So, you know, we're going to try to space the floor, make it harder for teams to double, to collapse when we're doing our job inside.
What does Steven do well? I mean, we've seen him just a little bit in scrimmage last year, maybe.
Plays hard, extremely competitive. You know, it's been my experience sometimes that big guys are late to the game. You hear big guys don't love the game, you know, perimeter players, you know. Darius and Ryan, who spoke at the luncheon, talked about how when they were little kids playing ball, sometimes big guys don't play. I mean, Steven didn't play until he was well into high school. And, you know, so I think sometimes they get labeled as, hey, they're not as competitive. You know, it doesn't mean as much. That's a 180 from Steve. It means a lot to him. He's very competitive. He's a tough kid. You know, he can do a little bit of everything. You got to keep him out of foul trouble. You know, he's got to be able to tame that aggressiveness. But he's going to have to be a factor for us to be a good team.
Have you ever changed anything about how you teach players, you know, your particular philosophy for offense and defense? Or has it been pretty easy with the squad?
I don't think it's ever easy, even when you have experienced teams. I just think a good coach or good coaching staff gives the players whatever they need to be successful. If you got to watch film with the guy, if you have to get him on the floor before practice with maybe a scout team, you know, if he needs more live reps in real competition, you know, everybody learns differently. You know, everybody learns differently, you know, outside of basketball and on the court. So trying to figure out, you know, which ways are effective for which guys is a big part of our jobs as coaches. But I don't think it's ever easy. You're always trying to sort of chase perfection and get guys, you know, playing at their best.
So, I mean, what's that process been like with especially with defense?
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, I enjoy going to the practice court because I have willing, listeners. I have guys that want to be coached. I think nothing bothers a coach more than when he has guys that are sort of deemed uncoachable. Have all the answers. The slight eye roll. They don't put into practice. What you took 5 minutes to explain. And I don't see that. I see guys making mistakes, but their willingness to try to correct them and get better. I'd like our team to hold each other accountable a little bit more. Sometimes I think we're too friendly to one another. But, I think biggest challenge is we're just teaching them something completely new that, wasn't a part of their world a year ago.
Was there a point in time where you kind of saw things click in terms of team chemistry, where you said, okay, I think these guys have been getting to know each other enough on and off the floor where they trust each other?
Well, I don't think Danielle that ever arrives. Like, okay, we're good. What happens if we get our heads handed to us against Nicholls State by 13 and everybody's booing? Are we good then? Is chemistry okay? Everybody good? Everybody feel good about each other? So it's a daily thing. I think our guys like one another, but to be able to go through the fire with each other and improve, keep team above self, all that stuff is really yet to be tested. Everybody's patting us on the back and so glad that you're here, Coach, and all that stuff. But I think, we'll find ourselves through adversity, and it's coming. It's coming.
Chris, Ron talked last year a lot about being more than just a shooter, which kind of obviously he was labeled as for a long time. How good of a shooter, first of all, is he, and has he become a better all-around basketball player?
He's really good. He's a really good shooter. Ryan's, size is a hindrance. I mean, if he was 6'7", he'd get a shot off on anybody, but he's not. And so he's got to be able to get open. He's got to find ways to get open. We have to free him as a coaching staff and, get him in positions where defenders are running at him and not latched onto him. And that's a challenge. I mean, it's just they know who he is as a player. But he has worked hard to be more than just a shooter. It doesn't mean he's going to turn into, Russell Westbrook, but, he's got to be able to get a guy in the air, draw a foul. Use his shooting ability to have the defense fly at him so that he can, dump it down underneath. And he's got to become a much better defender and use his IQ and his craftiness to be in the right position at the right time. So I think he recognizes that. I think he's self-aware enough as a player to know what he's got to get better at. And, I can't say that I've seen improvements. I didn't coach him last year. But I do think he's a very, very talented offensive player.
With the graduates, what was the common reaction you got from them in terms of trying to bring them into the program, their enthusiasm or their curiosity?
Yeah, I mean, each of the grad transfers, had a unique story. Kristen was the first, and here's a guy that grew up in our state, that had a brother that was a student manager at Louisville, so he knew what Cardinal fans were all about and what this program stood for. So I think for him, he had a real desire, to be a part of it. And he joined us early. And, I think Okoye, quite honestly, didn't have a whole lot of options because I don't think a lot of schools knew he was going to be available as a sixth-year player. And he had a fondness about this place and the times that he had in his first year and a half, and he'd been through so much, injury-wise and just experiences-wise. And, we had familiarity with one another because I recruited him a little bit coming out of high school, and he was in the same league as us when we were at Xavier. So, our compliance staff worked really hard to get that immediate eligibility in his 6th year. And then Quan was a guy, quite honestly, that committed elsewhere first, from Richmond. And, you probably have to ask him why things didn't work out at the University of Tennessee. But, we were very, very fortunate. He's undersized, but he's extremely athletic. He's a phenomenal kid. Do anything you ask of him. If I told him to guard a center, he'd try his best. He's just, he's a guy that everybody gets along with. And I think you need that when you have grad transfers. You need guys that can provide stability, that can assimilate themselves into a team pretty seamlessly, and those three guys have really good personalities that mesh well with our team.
I mean, I know it's a matter of trying to fill roster spots and taking over a program, but when you think back, was there a certain type of guy you were looking for? Was it just somebody, you know, who was just eager about trying to join?
Yeah, wanted somebody that, you know, wanted to be part of Louisville basketball and do something special in their final year. And, you know, again, we took the job at the end of March, early April. You know, we had a lot to overcome. And, you know, a lot of those kids that we were looking at were in decision-making mode within the first couple weeks. So, you know, it wasn't easy. We were very fortunate to get the three guys that we got. And we felt like we needed, you know, help on the perimeter. You know, you lost Quentin, who was, you know, a 4-year starter, or at least close to it, a guy that had the ball in his hands a fair amount. And so we felt like we needed help on the perimeter, you know, to relieve Darius and Ryan of all the ball handling responsibilities. And we feel like we got that with CeCe and Quan on the perimeter.
Coach, how much have you followed the court proceedings in New York City the last couple weeks, and just any reaction to any of the state of college basketball stuff that's being tossed around?
I mean, it's all over my Twitter account, you know, so I try not to get immersed in it because, you know, all that stuff happened when I was at a different place. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't following it. But pins and needles, you know, every word, no.
Are you worried that there might be more NCAA sanctions? How do you address that with recruits and stuff if they bring that up?
The only thing I'm worried about is making sure that we're ready to go in the regular season opener, you know, and you know, there's a lot of unknowns. People love to speculate. It's 2018. Everybody has an opinion. You know, as soon as something comes out, it's like, you know, he's got an opinion. And then, no, that opinion's wrong. And so, like, everybody wants to speculate on what's going to happen. We're going to let the thing play out, you know, as the NCAA is going to as well. And then maybe we'll get to worrying about it. But I have zero concern right now, that stuff.
Speaking of speculation, the G League stuff with the $125,000 contract, do you think that's going to affect how you recruit the next class?
We're going to try to recruit the best fits to Louisville. You know, regardless of what rules are in place, guys can go straight to the NBA, they can go straight to the G League. The academic requirements get, you know, more stringent. None of that's going to change our mindset. You know, this is a special place. It's got the best arena in the country. It's got one of the most passionate fan bases in the country. I think we're in the best league in the country. So there's a lot of really good stuff that if you're a high school prospect, you're going to find time to figure out how to come visit the University of Louisville.
Whether it was CeCe or a high school recruit that we can't mention just yet, but how important was it to get that first commitment, that first person to say, all right, I'm buying into what these guys are saying?
It helped. You know, it helped. It's like when you're an adult, you know, and you go to a pool party, and everybody sits around a pool, stands around a pool, and then there's that one crazy dude that just says, you know what, watch this, and jumps on in, and you know, he says the water temperature's fine. And I think, you know, for us, we needed guys like that. And CeCe represented, you know what, I want to be a part of Cardinal basketball, and you know, it's obviously happened in the 2019 class, and you know, hopefully that'll continue to, you know, domino effect with future classes.
How good can Jordan be in your system style, and what does he bring to this team with the way he can score the basketball?
Jordan is a talent. He has never valued the details. You know, he just sort of, you know, those things you see at parties, like, you know, I don't know what those things are called, or like grand openings. You know, that's how he sort of runs up and down the floor and sometimes gets in a stance. So when we get him to value getting in a stance, being ready to shoot the ball, being able to play off of a bad closeout, because you need to at this level. He could get away with that in high school. He'd get away with that in elite AAU action. But to be a great player at the ACC level, hell, Big East level, Big Ten level, high major college basketball, you have to, I think, value the details. You have to be a little bit more locked in and a little bit crisper in everything that you do. And I can freely say that because I've had a lot of conversations in film with Jordan, and I think he understands that. But understanding and growing those into habits are two different things. But he's working really hard. You know, I used to, if you had an opportunity to talk to Jordan later on today and you say, Coach Mack says on offense he doesn't want you to be, if he doesn't say the word casual, I'll give you $10, Jody.
And what about Darius?
Darius has to be the same guy every day he steps on the floor. You know, he's very hard on himself. He puts a lot of time into the game, away from practice, away from the coaches. He's in here every single night working on his game. But you know, that's great. And your teammates, I'm sure, really appreciate how invested you are and how good you want to be as a player. But they got to know that guy to the right of them is the same guy every single day. And that was a challenge for Darius over the summer. And it was good to hear him at the luncheon talking about playing with pace, landing on 2 feet in the lane. I said, very rarely can you find a guy that in the half-court setting on offense drives the ball in the lane, jumps off 1 foot, and good things happen consistently. And so he's growing. He's getting better. He's one of our most talented players for sure.
Do you see him possibly winning a starting role in the backcourt alongside CC?
It really doesn't matter what I say. The players decide who starts. That's not Coach Mack. Their performance, their attitudes. Does he have the ability to? Sure. But they decide who starts by their play, and that, you know, that doesn't get decided on October 19th. That'll get decided up until Bellarmine. And then guess what? It gets decided against Simmons, and then it gets decided against Nichols. Like, you don't cement, at least when you play for our staff, like, hey, I'm the starter. And I just think competition, you know, fuels the best out of everybody and sometimes the worst out of some people that you can't count on. So it'd be interesting. I think Darius is a competitor, and I do think he's getting a lot better, and he certainly does have the ability to be a starter, but that's up to him.
For the red-white scrimmage, I mean, obviously you want to see what you're coaching them, but attitude-wise, what do you want to see from your team on Sunday afternoon?
I want them to be the same team that we talk about and that we work on in practice every single day. You know, just because fans are in the stands now and, you know, people are cheering doesn't mean that that manifests itself in bad shots, in bad decisions, in not being in the right place defensively. I just want to see the same team. The same team. You have to be the same player, the same team, every single time that you step on the floor so that your teammate knows who the heck he's playing with and your coaching staff knows who they're coaching. That's what I'm really looking forward to on the red-white, because there's going to be some guys who maybe go outside of that. And that's okay. It's part of growth, but that's what I'm looking for.
How's it going with BJ and his rebounding?
On the defensive end, good. On the offensive end, he's got to improve.
What did you think when you first saw the schedule? You knew what the ACC was going to be when you first saw that non-conference. What was your thoughts?
Well, a lot of it was already sort of handed to us. But I mean, what do you want me to say? It was challenging. I knew it was challenging. I wasn't, you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, what did I sign up for? No, I mean, I think that when you're a player, you want to play the best. You want to put yourself in a position to play against the best teams in the country, and we've done that. And you know, I think, like I said before, the committee has shown. You know, years ago, some of the coaches that would want to be 27-4 and you know, play 13 guarantee games and then, you know, argue when they're 10-8, like why they're not in the NCAA tournament. I never understood that. I just didn't. I never understood that. I'd rather go out and play somebody that's really good, lose and figure it out. I don't want to lose, but figure it out, get your team tested. Because at the end of the day, the selection committee doesn't penalize you anyway. I mean, hell, there's been teams that have been 16-14, 17-14 in the NCAA tournament. We're shooting for, you know, much bigger things than that, but our schedule's a tough one, and we recognize that.
Chris, but given the schedule, given this is still very much a new thing for you and this team, what is a realistic expectation for what people can expect?
I've never put numbers of wins or anything like that. I want our team, this isn't going to excite the fan base or any of you in here. I want our team to get better every single time we step on the floor. I want us to be a team that stays together through thick and thin, and continues to get better as the season progresses. That's it. That's it. And where that is, I don't know. But that won't change when all of a sudden in 4 years, you know, we have, you know, all the recruits that you like to talk about. I mean, that's always going to be there. We always want to continue to get better every single day in what we're doing.
Beyond the revelations of the New York trial, how can you avoid being cynical about the culture of college basketball?
Me personally or the public?
Well, both.
Well, me personally, I'm not cynical at all about it. Because, you know, you're talking about a very, very small percentage of programs and coaches, period. And, you know, when it exploded last fall, call me naive, you know, you always heard an innuendo, you'd always heard, you know, this guy doesn't do it right, but hell, I didn't know how a lot of that worked. And so it's in my mind, Tim, it's a very, very small percentage. So I'm not cynical in the least. I think in the public, it's sort of hard to be because you're inundated with it. You're inundated with it. The same articles are over and over. The same players are talked about over and over. And until you're beaten over the head with it. And I don't think, and this isn't putting my head in the sand, that it's, you know, to the level maybe that others feel. Because I'm in it every day, you know, and we lost recruiting battles. We didn't recruit because the other coach was cheating. You know, we lost them. And again, the FBI has brought out, you know, some of this stuff, but I don't know. That's, from my standpoint, that's how I see it.
Coach, you came here from a pretty heated rivalry with your crosstown rivals in Cincinnati there. You're jumping kind of into another heated rivalry here with Louisville and UK. Do you like those kind of rivalries? Do you enjoy those?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes hand in hand with, you know, what I talked about before. I think when you're a competitor, you want to play the best teams. You want to be on the biggest stages. And, you know, it doesn't take rocket scientists to figure out, you know, UK Louisville's maybe the best rivalry in all college basketball, certainly non-conference. You know, it doesn't make our challenge any easier. We get that. But I think as a competitor, you want to be a part of those type of rivalries for sure.
Chris, last question. This program has had a history of walk-ons doing very well and hitting big shots. You have 4. What's your philosophy? And you've added 2, the 2 that were here. What's your philosophy? And with short numbers, I mean, will these guys, you know, will you have to count on them at some point or another? Well,
I think that, you know, because of our short number of scholarship guys, you know, we have 10 guys on scholarship. It was important that we added some walk-ons. And so Jacob and Joe obviously returned from a year ago. You know, they're both really good players. They could play at other places. They want to be a part of our program. And Wyatt and Will, the same thing. And so there's days where, you know, it's not just 3-on-3, VJ King against Jordan Wara and scholarship guy against scholarship guy. Those guys are extremely valuable. You know, whether it's, you know, helping us in drills, you know, allowing us to, you know, see different looks. You know, they all love the game. They're here early. They sacrifice the same things our scholarship players do. So those 4 have been terrific in their effort and their value to the team.
Thanks, everyone. We'll pause now, give you time to get to the court. We're going to snap a team picture, and then we'll have the guys spread out around the court for you to speak with.